In this video I make a miniature set of a front-on view of the tunnel with forced perspective. I also scale down the self-driving ore trolley, and once we're done the set will look a lot like this. So back in episode 13 I sketched this side angle set of the tunnel. Then over episode 14 and 17 I built and painted this set. Then I filmed and composited shots of the pilotless attack plane flying down the tunnel. Now I also made a quick sketch of a front-on set where I use forced perspective, where I make the elements smaller artificially so the illusion of true perspective is achieved with a much smaller or shallower set. I worked out the relative heights of the support columns of the tunnel and I'm just transferring them to foam board, tracing using heavy graphite. I'm using this method to 1. Save space, 2. Effectively lengthens the focal length of the set, making it seem longer, and 3. It's an experiment to let me understand how forced perspective might be used later on more complex sets. The next step is to cut out all of the different support structures from the foam. My favourite use of forced perspective are the sets of New York that David Letterman had on The Late Show, which must have taken some crazy math to work out. So the next step is to attach them to the base at appropriate intervals to create the illusion of perspective using glue and some little tacks that keep the supports in place while the glue dries. So this set is designed to only ever be viewed from the front-on perspective. So I have card reinforced with foam board that will form the walls. I also have to reinforce the supports with more foam board. Pegs here hold it while it dries. This pipe zigs and zags, so I am making a left turning and right turning removable curve that I can add to the end. I will use this set to represent both ways, with the pilotless planes flying towards and away from the camera. So what I'm doing now is creating the frame around the set edge because I have a way to light the inside of a tunnel. Basically I will shine lights from underneath and position a softbox behind the camera, as well as a softbox shining on the curve at the back from the side. So that is the reason for what I'm doing. Here the edge design is partly based on a castle rampart. So I turn now to making the walls. I'm gluing on little beads from a craft store to act as rivets. This is the same method I used with the side angle tunnel set, and I find this process to be very zen. Now I'll only apply this style of rivets for the front half of the set only, as the scale would be far too big to be in perspective further down the tunnel. I use the same method for the supports. PVA glue is what I'm using here, and I have the tunnel vertical so that the beads do not slide off while they wait to dry. So now heading out to the shed, which in the Australian summer can get up to 45 degrees Celsius or 113 degrees Fahrenheit. So I have both elements of the front on set, and I rebuilt the side set as well to match, and they all get a coat of aluminium coloured spray paint, and then leave it in here to dry. Or maybe the fumes will kill some of the cockroaches that live in here and scuttle about. I then apply oil paint dots in bright colours and blend them out, which provides variable colour and as well as dulling the sheen of spray paint. When I apply an enamel wash over the rivets and the seam lines of the panels, I'll leave this here. This ore trolley will be filmed in this tunnel. The relative scale of a defence robot will be the little soldier, not Buzz Lightyear. Otherwise the attack robots would be comically small rather than big and frightening. When I drive the trolley backwards, you can see that it quickly kills the scale and breaks the illusion of false depth perspective. But I can restore that if I build a very small replica of the trolley. I worked out the appropriate height by tying a string to a pin and marking out the height on foam card. Then I took this height and drew appropriate plan views of the side, front and back views of the trolley, remembering it will be very small on screen and only ever be seen from either the front or the back. So my building material here are some balsa wood, styrene and the barrel of an old pen. And I glue all the bits together with a magnet underneath so that I can place and move it from underneath when I need to during the film scene and it's halfway down a skinny tunnel. The paint is simply metal aluminium undercoat, metallic copper brush painted, and then a coat of enamel wash to create contrast. Here you can see how I can move both sized trolleys using magnets underneath and spinning on my turntable. And to finish, this is a still photograph from the tunnel lit from underneath and from both the front and at the rear. So I store the tunnel on my shelf in my study. The next video will be a cinematic sequence of the attack robots flying down this tunnel. I'm very curious to see how that goes, filming and editing that as I speak. Tune into the next video. Remember to hit like, subscribe, and if you have a comment, I'm very interested to hear what you may have to say. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.